Just wanted you to see the salt that was in the number 2 cylinder. As I'm moving this motor around, taking it apart. Seen this many times. As much as most people would just take this to the scrapyard, I'm going to fix it. Because that's what I do. Anyway, number 1's not as bad, but I'm hoping the crankshaft's good. This is really nothing. All this usually means is the salt water got into the cylinder and just set up to press the piston out. I'm doing the easy one first, number 1. I just got it all lined up, and it's a simple, inexpensive 12-ton press from Harbor Freight. I bought it a few years ago. That's all you basically need. You haven't had any motors yet where I could not press a piston out with the small press here. But anyway, these are important. I made these some years back. I call them tombstones because they look like a tombstone. And I have a whole set, different size motors from like the 6 horsepower up to I think the 40 horsepower. Now I got the short one in there first, and then once I press it down, I'll switch over to the long one. But I've shown this in some of my previous videos, so it's pretty straightforward. Sometimes you'll get really strong jerks when they're really stuck bad and the whole press shakes. But just don't be alarmed, that's kind of normal. Now I had to line the rod, being that the rods were stuck somewhat, that helps in pressing the pistons out. What I'll do is I'll put a pillow underneath it so when the piston falls out, hopefully I got enough clearance with the blocks so it should fall out. I'll go as far as I can with this block. Okay, that's as far as I can go. So let me reset up and then I'll show you what I do. All right, so I repositioned the block a little bit. The piston's almost all the way out. And I went to my longer tombstone block and to do it the rest of the way. Now, mind you, this is the easy one. Number 1 had no real problem with ingestion and rust, but number 2 is we'll see what happens when I do number 2. So I got the pillow underneath there, and if everything goes right, it'll just fall and hit the pillow. You can put a bucket there. I just want to, if I'm going to use this piston over, I don't want to make it worse than it is. There she is. Just, WD-40 that I soaked it with makes it look a lot worse. This piston might be salvageable. We'll see. I'm not expecting number 2 to be salvageable, but you never know until you really inspect it. Okay, so let me set up number 2, and that should be a little more forceful to get out. We'll see. All right, so I got it set up. This one's going to be tough. I just want you to hear the difference. I would just stand pretty much. Now, I wouldn't stick your face right inside there, which I don't think anybody would anyway. I'm about 4 or 5 feet back. And you want to make sure your alignment, whenever you got these really stubborn pistons, it's always nice when the connecting rod is somewhat still partially rusted to the wrist pin, because that makes the alignment easier. Now, sometimes if it moves front or backwards as you're pressing it out, you could put rags or wooden dowels in here, handles, or like an old hammer handle. You can cut it up and put pieces of wood in there to keep it centered as you're pressing it out. But I just want you to hear the pressing difference from the first one to this one. I only went 1 click with it so far, so it's quite louder, which is normal. She's going. Sometimes you bend the rods even with the tool, but the way I did take a razor blade and clean all the rust off the cylinder that was exposed and put gear oil or any kind of oil, coat the cylinder. And I have an extension on my bar here too, because I couldn't get enough leverage with this short little rod that comes with the press. But now that she's going, again, you want to make sure you got the clearance underneath there. I'm going to go as far as I can with this. I might have to block it. Hoping not to. Sometimes you got to change the height on the deck, but this is pretty much how I do them all with the 2 blocks. Okay, hold on a second. So as I was switching the blocks, the piston fell out with the camera off. And there's the, you can see the piston's no good. The skirt is all corroded. So the important thing is to get it out. I'll most likely change the rod and definitely the piston. Probably both. But if it wasn't corroded, that piston could be cleaned up. And she's shot. Okay, to the next clip. I'm getting ready to hone the motor. I did it, the number 2 cylinder already. I'm back on this. I want to explain a couple things I did. I did quite a bit of mechanical work, swapping things around. This piston was totally corroded. And the more I banged it, taking the wrist pins out and pressing everything out, more pieces of it broke. So number 2 piston was replaced. I have them right there. I also replaced the rod. There was play in the rod, and then when I pressed the wrist pin out, all the bearings just fell. This used the this particular connecting rod used the double inserted double needle bearings cages, and so I placed the rod with another good rod and a brand new wrist pin. I got brand new piston rings. When I go to assemble it, I'm putting all new needle bearings in it. On the crankshaft, the crankshaft itself is serviceable, but I might not use it. I'm not really sure yet. Technically, it would work, and but I'm just going to hone this cylinder here and get back to the honing thing here and show you what I do. It's very simple with the 3-stone, car hones, and I use WD-40 or whatever I have. That's mostly what I have on hand. I already did this already yesterday, but just to show you, it's all I do. Maybe do that about twice, 2-3 times on each cylinder, depending how bad it is. And then you can take a rag and wipe it away. And you can see how nice the cylinder cleaned up, really nice. So that's the honing aspect of it. I did break all the rings off the piston, and the piston I'm replacing. I still got to Scotch-Brite the skirts. I ran out of Scotch-Brite, but all the ring grooves are cleaned. Like I said, I swapped the wrist pin on one and replaced one piston and rod. So, and the piston ring number is 378415. So that's they're handy to have. Very common, and basically about $10 or $15 a set on eBay. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is, what is the next thing I'm going to do? I don't know. Forgot where I'm at now. Oh, get the crankshaft ready. All right, to the next clip. So here I'm going to clean up my reed plates. Pretty simple. I'll take the gasket off. I usually use a razor blade. And disassemble them. Just remember the brass nuts and little lock washers go forward. And pretty much I use a razor blade to clean the aluminum. And then for the reed plates, I put them on this round metal block I have. You can see the outline of the previous reed plates. And my favorite right angle with a blue fine 3M roll-lock disc, and they come out like brand new, and just want to keep them flat as you buff them out. And that's pretty much it. So before, and then I'll show you after. All right, so about 10, 15 minutes later, reed valve's all cleaned up. Very simple, easy to do. People that don't know, when you reassemble them, the nuts always go forward with the lock washer and the brass reed, and then the limit spider. I did change one spider because the number one cylinder that was all corroded, it's all rusty. Plus they're steel, but the reed plate's brass, so I reused it. Thank God for that. And also, when you reassemble these, there's a little dimple right there and right there, and you just want to center the pedals with that when you tighten the nut in the back, and also center the leaf spring limit spider center on the pedal. Pretty simple. And that's that. To the next clip. Here I got the crank all ready to go back together. I did change the upper bearing because I cut the original one off. I'm using the original crank. I mean, the journals are a little discolored here and there, but I'm going to use them. The worst journal was the top. But being that it's a stationary bearing, and I did mic it with a micrometer, it's right at 1 inch where it's supposed to be, and I'm going to use it. Again, this is not about changing every part to get a perfect motor. You know, this is just to show you could repair junk and get away with it. It's pretty much the name of the game here. Okay, so that's it. The crank is all ready. I did put a new O-ring in the bottom in the carbon seal because the O-rings, that's something I do all the time, especially because this one had water ingestion. The O-ring was flat where it rubbed on the crank, so I did put a new O-ring in there. The carbon seal was good. Just remember with your carbon seal, the notches go down, and that's it. So here I got the 18 horsepower steering assembly all apart. Unfortunately, the steering is frozen again, like many of these old motors when they sit for years and years. But here's the main thing that bothers me right here. The salt packed behind the serial tag. I've repaired quite a few of these through the years too, so I decided to take the whole thing apart, pop out the drive rivets, clean all the corrosion behind it, straighten out the serial tag plate, and prime it behind there and take it from there, whatever I want to do. Paint the transom bracket, whatever. But right now I just want to get rid of that corrosion, so. And then also I'm going to fix the frozen steering, which you see me do in previous videos. If I recall the video that I did it in recently, I'll include it in my links. Okay, so let's take this transom bracket apart and get that plate off. So here I've got the plate off. I took the two drive rivets out. Again, this is just something extra I'm doing. You don't really have to do this, but it was so corroded underneath the plate. Let's see if it focuses. That I had to fill it with JB Weld. I'm going to go ahead and sand it now, let it dry overnight, and then I'll prime it, and then I'll put the plate back on. The plate's a little damaged where the rivets go in the holes, so I'm going to put the rivets back in, and I'm also going to epoxy or glue the serial plate on there so it stays on. But just an extra thing, you don't have to do this. It's just me. I want to, preserve the plate as best as I can for the future. Okay, so to the next clip. So I did a little extra here. This is something I normally wouldn't have done, but I feel the original serial plate ID number is like is like your birth certificate, basically. So this one was so corroded here, and one piece was missing. It actually broke the plate into 3 pieces. One little piece was missing, and the other piece I fixed. So what I do basically is I have this thin copper sheet. I think it's 5/1000ths. And I use that, being that the original tags are copper too. I put a plate in the back, punch a couple holes, and I solder a plate behind it. It's a good way to repair the original plates. That's if you really want to preserve the originality of the motor. So now you can see, I'm going to get it upside down here, where my left my thumb is that whole piece was broke off, so I resoldered it in the back. And then I put a piece over the whole size of the tag. Like I said before, a couple little plug solders. And now I'm just going to put the plate back on. I did fill this up with Marine Tech, not Marine Techs. Darn, I always say Marine Tech, same stuff. JB Weld. And this will go like this, back on here, with 2 drive rivets. And it'll look almost, not quite totally like new, but it'll look pretty darn close. And just something a little extra that I do. It's part of my my thing. All right, to the next clip.